Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, we're talking about PlayStation 3 emulation on Android with APS3E, and APS3E just got a brand new update. So taking a quick peek at the changes, and it appears there's a bunch of fixes, some UI updates, and even more. Some people are reporting that the newest version of APS3E is running things a little bit better. At the time of filming, the latest and greatest version of APS3E is version 1.33. It is available on the Google Play Store and it looks to be incredibly popular. Right now at the time of filming, it's got over 1 million downloads with a 3.8 star rating. And I'm guessing here a number of the negative reviews are from phones that just can't handle PS3 emulation. And speaking about stuff on the Google Play Store and pretty much everywhere. Next up, we're talking about PlayStation 2 emulation with Play. For those who are unaware, Play is available for Windows, Mac, Linux, Android, iOS, and in a web browser. It doesn't require a BIOS file, and it's been making some serious progress. So almost every month, Literal Mente Game does a whole bunch of testing and publishes a progress report, and I would recommend checking it out. If you're interested and wanted to learn more about it, like everything we talk about, links are within the GitHub link in the bottom of the description below. I don't hide my sources. Anyways, here taking a look, there's a whole bunch of games that are now reaching in-game. I'm not going to go through the entire list here, but we can take a look and see that Hot Shots Golf 4 is now in-game, The Getaway, Scalar, and Heatseeker. Furthermore, if we head on over to Play's website and check out the compatibility status, we can see they've tested out 2,632 games. And of those, 48.06% are playable. And speaking about emulators and stuff that works on iOS, next up here we're talking about ArcadeMania. For those who are unaware, ArcadeMania is basically MAME for iOS. MAME stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano, or Multiple Arcade Machine Emulation, depending on how you wanted to interpret that. Anyways, ArcadeMania was just updated to bring it in line with the mainline version of MAME, with core version 0.283. So under the What's New section, I can see that the core has been updated to version 0.283. However, in the description, it's a little bit misleading because it says version 0.278. So for what it's worth, this is updated with the latest and greatest version of MAME. And speaking about arguably cool stuff, next up here we're talking about a homebrew game for PSP you might be interested in. This to me looks really good, and now it's out of early access. There's a brand new trailer for it on YouTube, and it's titled Locum Tenens. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Trailer 2025 PSP game trailer updated for release. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. I would argue here, if you're a fan of old school games like old school Wolfenstein or old school Doom or stuff like Blake Stone and all of that, you might be interested in this game here. I think for a PSP title, this looks pretty good. From my understanding, this game will be headed to Steam at some point in time. I just don't know when. Taking a look at the price, it's a whopping $2.99, which is not very expensive at all. That's a very inexpensive price. And that includes 3 hours of gameplay, 3+ hours of gameplay, 60 FPS on the OG PSP, wide range of weapons, 3 different zones on the spaceship with different environments, bosses, story with cutscenes, difficulty selection, and horror elements. This game does work on an actual PSP and also on PSP emulation. And speaking about stuff that's available on itch.io, but also available on the Google Play Store here and on GitHub, and that is Console Launcher, which is an emulation front end. And Console Launcher just got a brand new interesting update. So at the time of filming, Console Launcher version 2.0.0 Beta 3 is the latest and greatest update. It is still in beta, so it may have some bugs and issues with it, but at the same time, it's got a whole bunch of very interesting new features. They've added multi-display support for launching games and apps on external displays, added display selection dialog when multiple displays are detected, added generalized DPT tag system supporting Steam, ScumVM, Xbox Game Pass, PS3, and more platforms. They've added screen swapping support for dual display setups, something like the AYN Thor. Added category filtering to app drawer with keyboard and genre filter toggles. They've added platform loading progress display showing platform name and ROM count during startup. But wait, there's more, because of course there is. There's a whole bunch of visual improvements here to make things even easier to navigate and use. They've also updated all platform files, including Eden and Steam support. And speaking about stuff on Android and Steam support, next up we're talking about Metal Gear Solid 5. There's a really interesting post up on Reddit Emulation on Android that I would recommend checking out. It's showcasing the game up and running with GameHub on an Odin 2 Mini Pro. Now, I don't know about you, but I would say this game is running well and absolutely playable. I mean, it's running at a fairly stable, around 30 frames per second. This is just, it's great to me. I mean, that's really good for the Odin 2, and that's also really great for Windows games on Android. This game does have de novo, and GameHub does support games that have de novo. Now, I want to point something out here because I've been calling this GameHub, and I meant to say GameHub Lite, which is it's the stripped down version of GameHub. It removes a whole bunch of telemetry and a bunch of other stuff. This to me is super impressive, and I'm also very curious to see what this game would be running on GameHub versus GameHub Lite with the recent updates. Have to wait and see on that, but overall, I think for GameHub Lite, for Windows emulation on Android, just in general, this is really, really good. And speaking about Steam, next up we're talking about a brand new game and a very interesting blog post that's getting a lot of attention. The game is titled The Wayward Realms, and the blog post is titled Transitioning Away from Unreal. So at a very high level, the team behind The Wayward Realms is no longer going to be using Unreal Engine to build their game. Instead, they're using a fork of a different engine altogether, something that they're more or less making in-house now. And the results seem to be absolutely fantastic. So here's what they're saying. After reviewing the many thoughtful comments we received, we've made a major but exciting decision. We are fully transitioning away from Unreal Engine and building our own proprietary engine. This move gives us the control and flexibility needed to deliver the experience you've told us you want. Over the past few weeks, our entire focus has been on developing this new engine, and we're thrilled to say that we'll have something to show you soon. They go on to say, the new engine allows us to achieve 30 plus FPS on decade-old laptops without dedicated GPUs, giving us excellent performance even on very low-end hardware. Run the game at nearly FPS on a first-generation Nintendo Switch, ensuring smooth performance on all major consoles with full Linux support included. And there's even more here. Load the entire engine in roughly 300 milliseconds, which allows extremely fast iteration and has already more than doubled our development speed. And offer full community modding support for everything outside the core systems, using a public scripting language inspired by C# as a tribute to the Daggerfall Unity community. Now, there are a couple of things worth noting. First and foremost, I have no idea if this will affect the final price of The Wayward Realms, and also I've got no idea when this game will release. I would argue that switching engines will delay development a little bit, but also arguably for a much better result. I am curious to hear your thoughts on the matter. Are you interested in The Wayward Realms? Are you more interested in it now that they're developing their own engine? And what do you think about them dropping Unity Engine or Unreal Engine, basically the same thing, for increased performance? I shouldn't have said basically the same thing. I would argue basically the same result for dropping either of those engines for increased performance and arguably more flexibility. Could be wrong with that, but I mean, based on a lot of AAA games we've seen nowadays, just a lot of games in general using stuff like Unity and Unreal, it's a breath of fresh air to me. And speaking about breaths of fresh air, next up we're talking about a couple of Linux distributions. First up is Linux Mint. Linux Mint has just published their November newsletter here, and they appear to be releasing a brand new version, 22.3 Xena. Xena, subscribe to Mr. Sujano. I'm not quite sure on how to pronounce that. Anyways, here, this one will be released at some point this month. They say there's going to be a beta in the first half of this month. And the second distribution here is Endeavour OS. So if you're not necessarily a fan of distros based on Ubuntu, you might be a fan of distros based on Arch, by the way. Anyways, here Endeavour OS has a brand new update. The name of this one is based on the largest moon in the solar system. Might mispronounce this one, Ganymede. Now, I am a big fan of Endeavour OS. I would argue for Arch-based distros, well, SteamOS is definitely on my radar, and CachyOS has been really piquing my interest. Anyways, here with Endeavour OS, the latest and greatest update is using Linux kernel 6.17.8. And speaking about operating systems, next up we're talking about Windows, and arguably Windows giving more of a reason to switch to Linux. Listen to this headline here up on Tom's Hardware. Windows Update makes sign-in password icon invisible. Microsoft says you can still click on empty space to enter your password. Another day, another broken Windows Update. Thankfully, this one is only affecting insiders. Now, I've got no idea what's going on behind the scenes over at Microsoft, but I mean, holy smokes, I guess there's not a whole lot going on behind the scenes, given the fact that a lot of these things are slipping through the cracks. I mean, it just seems like it's one thing after another with Windows here. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on that one. But I'm glad that this was caught in the Insider channel before it made it to the mainstream version of Windows. It's baffling that it even made it to the Insider channel. Like, who misses a missing icon for frickin' logging in? And speaking about stuff that has just released, next up we're talking about something in a much more positive light, and that is Marvel Cosmic Invasion. This game has just released. It's got a very positive review score overall. A lot of people seem to be very excited about this one, and even I'm interested in it. So taking a look at the price, and I would say this is pretty reasonable. I mean, in Canada, it's $36, currently 10% off. I'm guessing in the States, it's around $30, maybe a little bit less. And there is a demo available to test out before you buy to see if you're interested or not. Taking a look at the reviews, and the very positive review seems to hold up here. Nothing is really jumping out at me as a major problem for this game, but there is someone complaining about a 60 FPS cap. And speaking about recently released stuff, last up here we're talking about a fan game you may or may not be interested in if you're a fan of Pokemon. It's titled Pokemon Crystal Awakening, and here's the announcement for it. Pokemon Crystal Awakening is out now. Features overhauled graphics similar to Game Boy Color Zelda games, expanded Kanto, tweaked trainer teams, restored Celebi event, all 251 Pokemon available, quality of life improvements, and even more. And taking a look at the screenshots here, and yeah, this one looks pretty good. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Feel free to discuss anything we talked about in the comments below. If you liked this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button. Check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate. Save your state.